What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another live trading video where I talk about my trades. I show you guys my real account and I show you trades that I am in and why. Now, in the last live trading video I did, it ended up being a break-even trade due to the FOMC data, or the meeting that came out, which actually turned my Euro USD trade back around. I'll pop up a thumbnail of that so you can see what it looks like in case you want to go watch that video. But the idea here on dollar Swiss is, after the crazy volatility that we saw within this daily candle, we're going to go take a look at it on the lower time frames in a moment. It actually presented some opportunities on some other pairs outside of euro dollar, like dollar Swiss, that I really was looking to be long on, and finally gave me the pullback that I needed. Now, I waited on my hands all day for dollar Swiss. This was a trade that I really wanted, but with that volatility, I was really waiting to see if price could come down into this sweet spot, which we are going to talk about in just a moment. Before I get too far into the trade, currently I am starting this a little bit late, and I understand it's not as cool as if I start it right from the beginning, and I'm sorry about that. I took this last night and then I went to bed and I didn't film it. So I should have filmed it, but apologies. I've been meaning to film more of my live trades, but the way they're set out is a little bit awkward because I have to like come back and film and then, come back later and film again, and then I have to like keep all the files. It's a little strange. But anyways, I'm currently up about $800 to $900 on this trade. I have two positions open. One is 73,000 units, which is 0.73 lots, and then 72,000, which is 0.72 lots. Why do I have two? Well, it's going to be a little bit kind of a weird explanation, but I'll show it to you guys here. You'll see it in just a moment. So let me show you guys this. This is the A1 trading community. This is where I share my trades publicly inside for members. And I actually shared that here's the summary of my Euro USD trade, which again was in heavy profit, and then it gave it all away due to this gentleman right here. Nothing wrong with him. It wasn't his fault, but they came out and they basically saw that the Fed left the target range for its federal fund rate unchanged at 0.25% during its March meeting, and signaled a strong likelihood that there may be no rate hikes through 2023. And the market saw this as a very bearish thing for the US dollar. Now you might say, well, Nick, you're buying dollar Swiss. You're supposed to be selling it when this happens, right? Well, I guess you could make the argument, but I still like dollar Swiss. I still like dollar against the Swiss, buying the dollar, selling the Swiss. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But let's just look through the reasoning behind the trade before we get too far into the video. So I said that I'm going long on dollar Swiss here at the pullback. Although news was bearish for the dollar today, I'm still in favor of it over the Swiss franc, as the overall market environment is still maintaining an overall risk on environment. And I like buying this pullback at 38.2% retracement with a stop about 70 pips below this demand zone. Now, I'm going to talk about this in just a moment, but let me talk about this one last part on the fundamental side. So I was interested in buying this pullback very soon after it started to pull back. I was actually, like I said, I had to sit on my hands for this one because I really wanted to buy it, because I knew the overall market environment here is still bullish. We're still in recovery mode. Still, things are looking very good. And so the Swiss franc is historically a risk-off currency, so people buy that during times of fear, and they usually sell it during times of optimism. And even the Swiss national or the Swiss bank has mentioned that they would like a weaker Swiss franc. So they're trying to do that, but again, I still think that the overall here is buying the dollar versus the Swiss franc. That's just my opinion, so that's what I ended up doing. So I ended up buying here at the pullback. I jumped into this trade initially with a stop loss of 70 pips, as I mentioned. But then what I did is I did something weird, and I don't usually do this, but I said about an hour later or so, I said I adjusted my position after looking at dollar Swiss closer. I ended up moving my stop loss up, reducing the risk to only 35 pips instead of 70, and I doubled my position. So kind of weird, but I ended up taking a second position here. You can see, price is continuing to move in my favor. But you can see that price, I decided I didn't want to have 70 pips because the average true range, if we can actually show that, can I show that? There it is. So the average true range here for a daily bar was like 65 pips. So I realized, it could take some time to move. So I didn't want to have a 75 pip stop. I'd rather be in this trade and out of it very quickly if I'm wrong, which is why I set my stop at 35 pips now versus holding on to a trade for too long. So I ended up deciding I wanted to do that. And I bought this zone here. So it's a longer term zone on the daily chart, but I really saw price coming down after that FOMC meeting. And I realized that this may be a short-term reaction to the dollar bearishness, but that overall still very much in favor of buying the dollar over the Swiss franc at this time. Now, you might say, well, Nick, would you buy the dollar against something like the Australian dollar? And my answer then would be no, because in that case, I'm more bearish on or I'm more bullish on the dollar. It's all about, which is the weaker currency, which is the stronger currency. So my bias here was long on the dollar Swiss. I ended up getting long at this supportive level, kind of formed multiple bottoms here and then bounced off of it strongly. So price so far is going well. And I actually do intend to move my stop up here on the video so we can go ahead and modify that. Move the other one up as well. Modify that. Okay. Okay, so there we are, updated on USD Swiss. You can see on the 1 hour chart, I'm still liking this bullish price action quite a bit. I like that buyers immediately stepped up. And again, from here, the trade is no longer exposed to risk. So in the worst case, price comes down and I take a small profit there. It's not gonna be very much, maybe 20, 30 bucks, but in the best case, it could keep going. And this is where I wanna talk to you guys about letting trades win or run, because my best trades are not super frequent, but every once in a while I get a trade that does something that I really wanted to do and it just keeps going and going and going. So right now we're kind of watching this level here. If this level decides to break and kind of convincingly does so, I would love to hold this trade back to the highs and see if it wants to do that. That would probably be, I don't know, $2,500 or so on the trade. So that could be a nice little move there. The overall idea, however, is that I'm going to let this thing run if it wants to, and I'm going to stop out at break even or slightly better than break even if it doesn't. And in the last trade, that's what we saw. We saw price move in my favor quite a bit on euro dollar and then come back and trail it out for just about like 30 bucks profit. So not the best situation, but again, in order, you have to pay to play, right? Sometimes you take losses, sometimes you take small annoying break-even trades. But in order for me to get that trade that I'm looking for, the run that I'm really hoping for, my thesis is in place, the technicals align with my overall approach, I've got my risk managed, and now the question is, will the market give me the move I'm looking for? It's not up to me to try and force my way into that. It's up to the market to decide. So I'm going to pause the video from here. We're going to see how this trade goes from here. If it keeps going, then I will probably lock in more profit. And if it does not, then I will go ahead and take a small win on this trade. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll keep you guys updated. I'll be back with the next part soon. All right, guys, so I've actually moved my stop up here, locking in a little bit of the trade. We did get a real nice breakout through this high that we had been watching. You can see price had a little bit of hesitation before breaking right through that. So happy with how dollar Swiss is moving so far. I've gone ahead and moved both of my trade stop losses right up to this 0.9252 roughly, this area. And I also wanted to point out that you can see the US dollar gaining so much strength today, partially because of this major spike in the government bonds, or the 10-year yield spike quite a bit, that being up at 1.75. Again, if bonds are offering higher rates, we've talked about this many times on stream, but generally that can cause a lot of demand for the currency that you would have to buy it with, right? So this being so high, causing a real strong spike and even bounce back here for the US dollar today. So I've got my stops locked in there. Worst case scenario at this point is that we take a nice profit there. And if that happens, again, it won't be the best case scenario, but it'll still be fine, and I'd be happy to take that on the move. So we'll see if that decides to keep going up. If it does, then we will continue to move stops. If not, we'll come back and update you guys if price stops out there. So either ways, happy with how this trade is playing out so far and gonna let it run from here. All right, guys, so I'm all stopped out there for a nice profit there of around $400, $500. I can't remember exactly, but I'll pop it up on the screen here for you to see. USD Swiss ended up going in my favor very nicely. You saw in the last clip that I trailed my stops up to somewhere around here, and then price actually came down and barely missed it right here, but then overnight rolled over and broke through and actually hit my stop, which was right around here. Kind of annoying because honestly, I felt like, you know, the trade had a lot of promise, but I wanted to not take any extra risk. So I trailed that stop, locked it in here, and the most annoying thing that possibly could have happened, which is price rolled over, stopped me out, and then rallied back in the direction. Has this ever happened to any of you guys? Because it still happens to me. I've been trading for 5 years, and it is the unfortunate part of trading that tends to happen whether you like it or not sometimes. And this is an example. Still happy with taking profit. Making money is better than losing it. So I'm happy with how this trade played out. And, you know, yes, it is a little bit annoying that it rallied back, but here's the thing. I still like this trade to the long side. I might look for opportunities to re-enter, and maybe I'll catch it better next time. But overall, still happy with this trade. I would say this is just kind of a standard small win on the account, which is, you know, that's a combination of lots of small wins, small losses, and the occasional big win. That is how I make my money in the market. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it down below. And hey, if you want to trade with me and see the trades that I share, I actually share them inside of our premium community. I'll share what you guys, you may have already seen some of this, but just so you kind of see, I mentioned that, you know, the Fed being overall a little bit mixed emotions, but I still liked the dollar over the Swiss franc. Talked about the entry and shared my adjustments going forward. So I ended up trailing stops. You can see at one point we trailed stops up to here. Price came up to this point, rallied back. I really didn't want to see this trend line break at all. I wanted to see it bounce strongly, and unfortunately it did break, but it was kind of a fake out. Again, never going to be able to play it perfectly, and I could kick myself all day long about what I shoulda, coulda, woulda done. But the reality is this is what I did, and I'm happy with how the trade played out. If you enjoyed and you want to see my trades and also join our community of traders, we have a pretty realistic based trading community. We're not here to copy signals or get rich quick or anything like that. But if that sounds helpful to you, there's a link down below in the description to check us out. I encourage you to do so. Try it for a month, see if it's a fit for you, and there's a promo code down there that gets you a discount off your membership. So we'll see some of you guys inside. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like the video down below, because if you don't, you're statistically 84.72% more likely to blow an account in the next 48 hours. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why, that's just facts. If you enjoyed that video and you want to see more free content here on YouTube, I'll be popping up some videos on the screen now. Go ahead and click anything that looks interesting to you, and thank you so much.